So I've actually talked about this before, but I really wanted to bring this topic back up because I think it's really important for some people to hear, especially now. There's so many new investors, there's so many channels out there that people are watching, and I feel like this needs to be said. So, recently, as you can see in, the background here, everybody has been talking about this crash, this correction, the signs of maybe this is, incoming. And I've made plenty of videos. I made a video even earlier today showing you guys data that actually, if you actually look at what's been going on, specifically in the Pokemon market, the majority of things are not declining. There are a couple of things, but other than that, the majority, which is the biggest, in my opinion, part that people are not understanding, the biggest part of the market of Scarlet and Violet specifically, it's not going down. If the majority was going down, majority of prices were dropping a large percentage, we can have a conversation. But it's not happening. And that's the most, astonishing part to me. That so many channels, so many channels, way bigger than mine, some the same size as mine, some, the smaller size, channels, everyone's talking about this. And when you really just sit down and look at the data, which I made a video earlier today, there's no big signs here. Yes, are things not skyrocketing? Yeah, that's true. But things aren't also crashing. So I don't know who came up with this idea that this is a big sign of anything happening, but it's really not. But that's why I wanted to make this video. Now, I'm not going to sit here, call out channels or anything, because there's probably multiple channels that this could apply to. So you guys can take this information, take this as you will. But I think there's a major problem in this space. There's people that have a lot more credibility than me, right? There's a lot of people that have been here longer than me. There's people that have been doing this way longer than me, doing the investing thing, the whole YouTube thing. I haven't been here for a long time. I've been here for a couple years, so there's people that maybe have built up more of a fan base and maybe more trust in that way. And I feel like, to some extent, it's sort of a bad thing, I feel, because some people that see, or maybe are just fans of some of these channels, whenever they talk about something and they give their big word here, opinion about something, they take it as gospel. Now, I feel like this is something where, maybe it works in your favor because maybe somebody has a great track record of calling when things are going to happen, when things aren't going to happen. And maybe then you just trust them, and whatever they say, you think is automatically going to happen. But here's the thing. No one can predict the future. This has been a thing that's been said in the space, forever. But I feel like this is one of the things that gets lost when people hear advice from some of these channels that they either are huge fans of them, or maybe they have, more product, more investments in them. They take their word as it's gonna happen. Especially with a lot of these bigger channels. Some people have, built a big fan base, and some of these people, when they say something, automatically they're like, it's gonna happen because he said it. He's been here forever. This is gonna happen. But if you go back and look at everything they've said, everything they've done, I bet you they've gotten a multitude of things wrong. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because everyone has gotten something wrong, right? I've gotten plenty of things wrong, and so have other people. And this is where I believe there's a problem, because if this, whatever channel, if there's multiple channels out there that are way bigger than mine, right? If this channel says anything about the market, says anything about whatever, people that take their word as gospel will automatically be like, this is going to happen. And I think that's maybe why we are seeing what's going on now, where everybody's talking about this correction. Everybody's talking about this crash, because maybe one or two or few channels that are big said this thing, and now it gets spread into the space, it gets regurgitated, and now this is where we're at now, where everybody's talking about the incoming crash or incoming correction. And I really feel like that's the problem, I guess, somewhat in this space, in some channels out there that have maybe a big fan base, is people will take their word as it's going to happen. And the thing that people don't realize is that these people, they could be giving biased opinions. They could be giving opinions that maybe are wrong. And, they probably, if you've seen in the past in, previous videos, they've probably been wrong and probably, have said some things that were totally incorrect and made wrong decisions. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But people too often, I feel like in the space, especially now, listen to a singular channel and automatically think that they're, because maybe they just have a bias towards their channel, they like them, they automatically think this person says it, it's automatically going to happen. And this is where you can see here on the title here, take all information with a grain of salt, because truly you don't know, what is going to happen. And if you take somebody's word of this is going to happen and you rely on their decision, you might end up in a spot maybe way worse if you were to maybe just not listen to them, or maybe take information from other places and make your own decision. I've had, made a decision based on others' decisions that were credible and they've been wrong. A perfect example of this is with Evolving Skies. I've talked about this before, I guess on this channel, like here and there, but I listened. And this is, besides, I guess, talking about, a market crash, but it's kind of the same point I'm trying to get at here. I listened to credible sources, right? Very credible sources, that we were going to get major Evolving Skies booster box reprints. I was listening to major, big, reputable people saying that, oh yeah, there's going to be, probably a big supply that's going to happen. So, looking at the price now, they've gone up. Maybe you can take some profits, because, it's probably going to happen based on history. And I took their word for word and said, okay, they said that a very, very high chance it's going to see, a big reprint. I'm going to sell. And that's what I did. And guess what happened? And it never happened. The big reprint never happened. And there, I made my decision based on someone else that was more credible, that had reputability in the space, but they were wrong. And this is the huge thing, is some people rely so much on maybe one channel, two channels out there, because maybe they just like them, and they don't make any decisions themselves. They don't make any, they don't do any research. They don't look for themselves to see, okay, what's actually going on here. People in this space, and it's all social media, right? But people don't look at the information themselves. And that to me is the biggest thing, because, I've really stopped sort of watching a lot of these channels, because honestly, I don't know. I just kind of stopped watching a lot of these channels. I just do a lot of the research myself and look actually what's going on. Like, yeah, I'll go and see, what people's behaviors are and or attitudes towards, but I never really at this point take, opinions really, into that much, consideration of what I do. Like, yeah, I'll hear it. And, obviously if there's like actual facts, then I'll, consider that. But other than that, people's opinions or things they say about the market, I just don't care. A big example of that is with Prismatic Evolutions. You guys know, during the summer when things were getting reprinted like crazy, everyone was not saying, well, there were some people saying to buy, but a large portion of people did not agree with my decision of buying. I got a lot of people saying that, you're buying, it's going to go to MSRP, all these sorts of things. Obviously, that didn't happen. If I were to listen to people, I wouldn't, have bought all those, ETBs at a low price. And since then, they've gone up quite considerably. And that's just an example. I don't really listen to a lot of people in this space anymore. I'll listen to information that's factual, right? Like things that maybe are 100% confirmed that are going to happen. But all these opinions about anything, about a set, a product, the market, I don't really listen to anyone anymore, because, I just see so often so many people that maybe are credible. I've just seen so many people, like, some people are more right than others, but there's been a lot of instances I've seen these people be wrong about things. And to me, it's really hard to really know, I guess, what's, I guess in, some of these people's, like, I guess, their objectives, or, I guess they're just why they're saying it. Because, I feel like so many people,